to me, and it was a kind of supposedly some kind of truth, but I think partly it was partly truth and partly somebody's wild imagination. And in that, the person had claimed that he had lived, he had been reborn into this earth 69 times. So, that's somebody's claim. Nearly 70 times he'd been reborn. And it was a story of Israel, and it was a story of pharaohs and pyramids and all that. So, some people like to read about those things, and you can call them conspiracy theories, you can call them all sorts of things, and it was all talking about pharaohs being aliens and all that kind of thing. I just find that amusing, People spend their time reading about these items, and it was talking about the history of Israel, and it was actually a Jewish man who claims this. By the way, this is a Jewish man who claims this as well. So, making YouTube videos and other things, but I just read the document, and I'm just giving you a little gist of the document. What it said was that he lived 69 lives, and I think this is the 69th time he came back on this earth, and he spoke about the way past before Moses, and he alleged that he was present at Moses' time, and he was present at Pharaoh's time, and he was present at King David and King Solomon's time. He actually, he apparently said he was present in all those times. And he spoke about the pharaohs at length, that they are aliens and people worship them as gods. And so the whole theory, you get the gist, right? This is also a very kind of nostalgic type of fairy tale, where way in the past aliens come to this planet to inhabit it, and so we get the creation and we start kind of thing. If you like that sort of thing, I'm pretty sure you'll be happy to read something like that. I just find that, like I said last week, if you really like fantasies, then there's Lord of the Rings. So there's quite a number of movies that have been made on Lord of the Rings. I don't know what series is on right now, but there's loads of them. So if you like fanciful theories, watch Lord of the Rings. That'll give you a good, 1 hour, 35 minutes or 40 minutes of good time. You'll get some good time of fairy tale land. But I like to live in reality. I like to live in the now, in the truth, in what's really true, not somebody else's fairy tales. So with that in mind, Parsha's nezavim, I want to briefly read about what that says. It says in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 29, verse 10, "You stand this day, all of you, before Yahweh your power, your captains of your tribes, your elders, your officers with all the men of Israel, your infants, your wives, and the foreigners that are in your camp, from the woodcutters to the mine carriers, water carriers, that you should enter into covenant with Yahweh your power, and into his oath, which Yahweh your power makes with you this day, that he may establish you today for a people to himself, and that he may be to you a Elohim, as he has said to you, and as he has sworn to your oath to your fathers, to Abraham, to Yitzhak, and to Yaakov." Now, this to me is absolutely critical key. This is, to me, this sums up the whole Torah into one. What are we doing over here? What is the purpose of me over here? And in 2020, in September 12, today being September 12, 2020, you have the ability right now to establish a covenant with the God of the universes, who's known with various titles, names: God of Abraham, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, God of Israel, Al Shaddai, Hashem, known with all sorts of titles. In the nations, they call him different names. So you have that choice. In the nations, they know him as Allah, and they know him as Buddha and Bhagwan and all sorts of other titles. So this today is your time to establish a covenant. When you're actually binding yourself to him and his oath. He says covenant and oath. He separates the two, by the way. Have you noticed that within the reading, it's not one, it's two. First he says the covenant, then he says the oath. He says, you shall enter into covenant with Yahweh your power and into his oath. So there are two things over here. Basically, we cannot enter one without the other. The oath is what will establish us with him and bind us together. Now, appropriately in the Abrahamic-Faith nezavim, the Great Study Bible, it says your power, not your God. So there are many gods in this nation. Yahweh, your power. So our power, what allows us to manifest, what allows us to bring our desires on this earth, is the power that we serve, and that power is that used when we imagine, when we chant the name, or if we chant the sound I gave you. Do that, we are invoking. It's very important to use the right word. We invoke the powers that are within us, that are here to serve us. So, very, very important that you can have anything you want in your life, anything, even sometimes bad. You might wish some bad for yourself and you can have that, or you can wish good and you can have that. Now, this took me to one of the passages in the New Testament, and I thought it was very appropriate because in the New Testament it says in Matthew chapter 16 verse 19, and I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Now, of course, this passage by Christianity's method has been all, made into something it's not. And Christianity obfuscated and uses them good, and whatever your desire is, you can bring that to pass. That's basically what it means. It means no more than that. I'm not going to be here again. I think I was a little bit. Come back again. They can hear me still? Good. So, basically, the Matthew 16:19 is all about a desire, and it's a manifestation. Whatever you desire on this earth, you can fulfill on this earth as to bind and to loose. Bind and loose simply means that whatever desire you set for yourself, whether you want marriage, you want finance, money, business, home, car, whatever, establish it. You first decide, you make a decision, and you say, I need this, I'd like to have a car, and a new car. And so then once you set your desire, your intention, you then go to manifest that through your affirmation. That's basically all that Matthew 16:19 speaks about. It is nothing more than that. There's no other magic in there. It's not like you're going to command Gabriel to come down here and Gabriel's going to come stand before you and do anything you ask. See, that's what that passage sounds like. It sounds like that, you can tell God to do something in heaven and God will suddenly send an angel and say, go do that for him. In theory, it seems to be plausible. But in practice, what it's talking about is you manifesting a desire and you bringing that into fulfillment in your real life. That's all it basically means. Now, we can look at it another way. The other way we look at it is we can go to the passage which is very famous for Christianity. Christianity loves this passage, but they little do care what it actually means. It says in the book of Chronicles, 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, and I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. Now, you see, a lot is done on that, and a lot is made out of this. But it's talking about manifestation law. It's talking about you seeking Yahweh in your imagination. You know, when you imagine, when you pray, remember I said the word pray, replace it with imagination. You could almost say that my name is basically trying to connect with God. And when you connect with God, you imagine, which basically you're praying, you're seeking His face, and then He says that I will turn, you know, I will give you everything you want. So when it's talking about turn from your wicked ways, everybody knows what their wicked way is. You know, stop doing the wrong that they do in their life and start doing the right. Start manifesting, start doing the law, start operating correctly in the law, and God will be with you. Basically all it means is nothing more than that. There is no other fanciful meaning that we can apply to that. And whilst, you know, Christians want to fast for 3 days, and, you know, they want to, Catholics want to fast for 40 days, and then maybe God will heal them. That's all religion, by the way. That's all religion. It's all ritual. Has no meaning in real life. In real life, all you need to do is you need to bring your desire. You need to come before God. What is God? God is imagination. You come before God and you say, I have a desire to do such and such. And clearly, whatever you're desiring, more than likely is going to be something good for your family, for you. So then God will be able to, once you start to write it down, you start to read it. Like I told you, you read it facing the north. And because the north is wealth and the south is the devaluing of wealth. So south is where it takes away, north is where it comes into your life, and then you're ready to go. Now, I wanted to point out another anomaly on the bracelet that I recommended for you to buy. That was a bracelet called the Pishu or the Piyao. You know, it comes in two different versions, Pishu, Piyao. Pishu one has a little dragon or a lion-like dragon, and you know, you have to place him to the left of the little finger. Now, I don't know about the rest of the people, and more than likely you're probably facing it to the little finger, but I found a little anomaly. I found that if I faced it to the left, money went out. If I faced it right, money came in. So, maybe that's because I'm that, or maybe because you're children of Israel. You know? Maybe it's because we're the children of Israel. Maybe it's that. I've actually, you know, I'm Israel, it is always the opposite. It's always the opposite that works. It's not what the nations do. It's what the opposite is what works for us. So, if you're facing it towards your little finger, you should face his face towards your thumb. That means you turn his head. And that's what I have noticed over here in the East. Now, it may be different people will have different experiences, but that is my experience, by the way. You may want to test it out, and you may then decide, you know, what is the best direction for you, whether it's towards the thumb, whether it's towards the little finger. That's something that you may need to test out for each individual person. Other than that, I've had a lot of favor this week, Baruch Shem Yahweh, a lot of favor that has been happening in my life over here in the East, Baruch Hashem, and your little finger, Yael is saying that my little finger is to the right. Well, I'm talking about if you face your palm down. Face your palm down, then your little finger is to your left. And everybody should be to the left, on the left-hand side. We're talking about the left hand here, not the right hand. If you face your palm down, the little finger is at that point to the left. And if your little tiger, little dragon, is facing to the little finger, you may want to switch him around. So that's just a thought that you may want to think about. Now, clearly, it also aligns with doors of your home. The gates of your home do matter, how the gates are aligned. Now, in your case, it depends where your gate is as well, where your home gate is. And so you can align it with the gate. And here, the thing is this, that my gate, or my door, I only have one gate. You know, in America you have two front doors. I only have one door over here. So my gate is at the right-hand side. That could have some relevance to it. And in your case, again, if you're going to have two gates, it really doesn't matter then, because if you're facing the little dragon to the left, and because you have a gate to the left, then maybe it will work for you to the left equally, as well as it works to the right, because you'll have a gate to the right as well. Because you have two doors over there to get out. And if you live in an apartment, in a building, then of course in an apartment you may only have one gate. So this is why I said experiment and always palm facing down. When your hand, you look at it palm facing down, and you look at your fingers, and this is what you do with your imagination. When you imagine, you make sure you raise both of your hands, you look at your fingers, start imagining, because you want to see your hands in your imagination. You may not see it, but you want to get used to that idea. And the other, in logic, of course, in logic, people go with logic. Western people love logic, and everything is about logic, but to me, logic is nonsense most of the time, because it's always the reverse that ends up working. And then they call it Murphy's Law. When the reverse works, they call it Murphy's Law. But actually the reality is this, that when you're stuck with logic, when you stick to logic, you restricted yourself, you put a ceiling on yourself, you cannot break that ceiling. You will fail to manifest, by the way. Let me warn you again, do not get caught up with logic. Because if you get caught up with logic, you will fail to manifest your desires. So do test that out, and Shabbat Shalom to Yaakov. Do test that out, because logic is going to hamper you. Every time you think logic is going to hamper you. So, I did give you it was a meditation that was talking about, that had affirmations in there, and one of those was to get rid of logic and time. Those two things you want to abolish in your lives. Because remember, we are created from the same substance that God was created from. We have that within us, the light. We don't see it, but we have it. And different terms are given to it by different people. But essentially, that part of you, it lives in eternity. It's not time bound. Only when you time bound it, that's when you find that everything starts to fail in your life, and you start to miserably fail, and you start going down that path of, where people say, oh, you got to work really hard, and you got to make that money. It's so hard to make money, and you got to work really hard, really, really hard. You got to do 2 jobs, and you got to do 3 jobs to make that money. That is logic, by the way. That is the logic you don't want. You want to tell yourself money is easy. You want to tell yourself time is of no consequence. Logic is finished. Logic is banished. So you want to tell yourself, absolutely, Rabbi Kefa, the doubt and the depression will set in if you allow these logic and all this nonsense to creep in. And people do that. I was chatting to I had a Muslim lady, a friend, who contacted me yesterday, and she was talking to me about her family, her son. And I had to give her a sharp rebuke to her son, because I sat with the son and I had a chat with him. And he seemed to be going down that rabbit hole of religion. And I told her, I said, look, if your son's going to go down that rabbit hole, you know what the clerics of this country are like. You know what they're like, and you know what they do. And I said, they're going to lead your son into a black hole, and he's never going to come out of that black hole. So I said, he really needs to, he's young, he's impressionable, he's only 23, he's impressionable, and he doesn't know what is right for him. And if he, goes with his gung-ho mentality of a religious jihad, then I said he can forget about his life ahead. He'll never succeed. So I said, and she agreed with me that he's a little impulsive. I said he's a little impulsive, and he's a little, how should I say, emotional. I said he needs to get rid of emotions, and needs to get rid of the impulse. And he works with some people, like he's doing a business with a friend, partner, and his business is not getting what he wants in that business. The partner's not paying him the money he should, and he did the same thing before with somebody else in another city, and he was having the same problem. So I told her, I said, the guy is sabotaging himself. I said, the young man, I said, your son is sabotaging himself. The way he's sabotaging it, I said, is by self-talk. I said, what is his self-talk? I said, I can guarantee you that this guy, you can give him $1 million, he will never succeed. Even with $1 million, he'll lose it. Why? Because his self-talk is killing him. I said, his self-talk every day is going to be, hey, my boss is no good, my partner is rubbish, he is lying to me, or my partner is giving money to somebody else, money they should be giving me, he's giving money to this other worker, but he's not giving it to me, and so on. So I said, this is a conversation that's going back and forth in his mind every day. And I said, you need to tell him to stop that. Opposite of that. My boss is great, my partner is great, we are getting along really fine, our business is doing well, money is coming in, he's giving me money. I said, that's a totally opposite of what's happening right now. And I said, look, because he's taking the negative road, look at what's happening. Look at his last two roles. Both last two roles, he was a miserable failure. Now he's still complaining. Why? Because he is calling his inner life like that. Until he changes inner world, the outer world will not change. You must change your inner world. So for all of you out there, you're listening, you must change your inner world. If you want to see the change outside, change your inner world. When you change your inner world, outside change will come. If you're having problems outside world, that means your inner world is in conflict. Once your inner world starts to resolve itself, the outer world will reflect the inner world. If all you're doing is quarreling inner world, if you're quarreling in your inside world every day with yourself about something, your outer world is going to be a quarrel as well. Let me put it another way. When we see two spouses fighting all the time, arguing, bickering, what is all that? That is an inner fight. What happens in that is that the wife is saying to herself, oh, my husband's no good, I'm going to say this to him today and set him straight. The husband is doing the same thing. He's saying inside his mind, my wife is no good, she's always quarreling, she's always whining at me, I'm going to set her straight, I'm going to do this. So when you're talking like this, inner talk, when your inner talk is this all day long, strong, what your outer world is going to be. Your outer world is a reality of your inner world. If your inner world is a conflict, your outer world will be perfect conflict. Meaning, you'll be fighting with your wife more and more, and the husband will be fighting with her, and she'll be fighting with the husband, and on it will go until it ends down the divorce court. Then you go to the next husband, and the same thing. Then the next husband, and the same thing. Meaning that you're only repeating, you're self-sabotaging. That's what I call self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is when you are in your inner world, bringing this conflict, and you're bringing this, thing, and you're telling yourself, oh, that is no good, and this is no good, and, so-and-so is no good, and that is self-sabotage. Self-sabotage will kill you. It will kill your desires, it'll kill your, home life, your family life, it'll kill everything. Everything will be gone. So, you consciously, this is exactly what I said to the lady, I said, you must tell your son that he must consciously choose good for himself. He must choose not to think negative thoughts like that my partner is no good, he's, scamming me, or maybe, he's making me work for free. I said, these are the things, you don't see it. I said, what you don't see, I see from here. And you don't realize that this is what's happening. So I spoke to that guy's sister as well, and I told her, I said, look, maybe your brother may not be able to do this thing for himself. I told your mom, maybe he may not be able to control his emotions. So you're going to have to do it for him. You're going to have to write a script for him, and you're going to have to make sure that you see good for your brother. So yeah, you can do it for your friend, you can do it for your brother, you can do it for your sister, you can do that. So I explained to her how she needs to write a script in which she sees her brother in a good place, business is doing well, the partner is happy with him, he's paying him money. These are the things that I told her that you need to look at, you need to write, and they will come to pass if you're diligent, if you're sincere, if you're diligent, they will come to pass in your life. And I've had such favor over here, Baruch Hashem Yahweh. One day I will tell you about it. There's a lot of things going on around me, but a lot of favor in all ways. I go someplace, I want to do something, and it gets done immediately. And so I'm trying to teach these principles. I'm trying to teach these things to my family, my wife over here as well, so she can learn, how to operate in the same kind of grace, in the same kind of power, and the same kind of role. Because these are things that affect us. These affect us all the time in everyday life. So you want to get rolling. If you want to make a business, you want to have a smooth business. You want to make a home, you want to have a smooth home. Everything will run smoothly for you. But if things start to get sticky, then don't worry about the outer side. More concerned about the inner side. So when we formulate a covenant, you see, this is where the covenant comes in. When we formulate a covenant and an oath with Yahweh, our power, what we are saying is, whatever I desire that is good, I want that, and you're going to support. And God says, yes, you can have it. Yes, it's yours. It's yours. You can have it today. No problem. God's not going to say no. So, and I explained, this is exactly what I explained to the lady, that God doesn't want bad for anybody. God does not want bad for any person. It is us, we the humans that make bad for each other. We want bad for each other, we don't want good for each other, and so we act on that, and that's what we manifest in our life. So, very, very clear. I was able to get through to her and explain to her, and she was happy, and kind of send her off on a happy note. So, Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So this is how the relationship is over here with the nation, with the people. Great nation, great people, great relationship with them, and I can explain things, and my goodness, I tell you, I went to this place, this Muslim guy is really good. He had lots of land. He owns lots of land. He's a rich guy, and I went to this little, they have this little farm place. I went to this little farm place, and he sat me down, and he's really good to me, and he said to me, what milk would you like to drink? Let me get you some milk. I said, I don't drink buffalo milk, because I'm not used to buffalo milk, it's really thick. I said, I'm not used to buffalo milk. He said, no problem, I'll give you cow's milk. He said, I have cows, we just milked it, I'll give you cow's milk. He gave me 2 glasses of cow milk to drink, straight from the cow. I was like, thank you very much. And so, this is the kind of favor I'm getting over here. My goodness, I got these people, around, they're really courteous and kind to me, and I'm extremely grateful, that they're good with me. And Baruch Hashem Yahweh, what more could somebody ask for? It's just brilliant, it's just great. And so, see, you have to set the right affirmations for yourself, so you can produce those in your life. You want to set up some nice affirmations, some nice affirmations. Like, remember who I spoke to and I said to you, when you look in the mirror, don't see yourself as a miserable face, I look miserable again today, what's wrong with my face? Some people have this habit of doing that in the West. They get up, they go in front of the mirror, and they're like, why is my face looking so bad today? Why am I looking so miserable? It's the same old me again. See, you need to stop doing that. You need to go in front of the mirror and say, I'm looking great. I'm pretty, I'm handsome, I'm beautiful, I'm great. You need to tell yourself that. So these are the kind of things that will change and transform you. When you look at yourself and you're talking to your friends and you keep telling yourself, I made the same mistake again. And the friend will say, yeah, you made the same mistake again. And so they're only reinforcing your negative. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to reinforce your negative. You always want to reinforce your positive. So you can say, you know what, I stopped making those mistakes. I'm now doing great. I'm wonderful. I'm great. Everything is beautiful. So your speech, your positive speech will make you, or your negative speech will break you. So my suggestion is always consciously, because you will get negativity creeping in. Always consciously stop and tell yourself, this is not me. This is just my thoughts that are being negative. I'm removing them and I'm thinking about the positive thoughts. So, because what tends to happen, let me tell you what tends to happen. A bill comes in, and what tends to happen with us humans is that we start to focus on the bill, and we forget about everything else. we forget what the other things are going on. We start focusing on that bill. Oh, I got that bill to pay. Oh, I have got that big bill to pay. How am I going to pay? Where am I going to get that money to pay this? And then maybe I'm going to borrow some from here. Maybe I'm going to do. So you're focusing on that bill. The more you focus on that bill, the more it envelopes you, the more it antagonizes you, and the more depressed and worry you feel. By the way, this is real. This happens in America, this happens in England, this happens all over the place, even Pakistan too. So this bill thing happens. This woman phoned me, she's a widow, and she's like, I have a bill to pay, and I'm very sick, and I don't know how to pay it, and it was about $165. And I said, let me help you to pay that bill. I'll send you the money, you pay the bill. She said, can you help me? I said, of course I can help you. I'll send you money to pay your bill. So I have to pay a bill. Baruch Hashem. Took 2 seconds to work it out. Now she was very sick about it. That was 2 months' bill for her. So people worry about their bills. They spend all day and all night worrying about it. So always take away the focus from the problem area. If you have a problem area, take away the focus and focus on a better area, so that your focus is on a better area. Now, if you have debt, if you have credit card debt, and if you keep focusing on credit card debt, and you keep focusing on it, the more worse it will get. But if you take it away, and if you start thinking another way, you start thinking money is easy, more money is coming into my life, I've got money coming from all different places. When you start thinking like that, and you focus your thoughts, say to yourself, this is what's happening in my life. Money is easy. Money is coming to my life from every source, all different sources. When you do that, you're taking your focus away from the negative, which is your debt, and when more money comes, you are paying off that debt. Your money comes in, you pay the debt. Your money comes in, you pay it off, and you pay it until it's completely gone, wiped. So there are ways to deal with it, but the problem with these things in school. In school you get this education that is totally of no use to you in real life. Unless you're an engineer that's going to use information, most of the maths you learn is of no use. Most of the English you learn is of no use. They're absolute, so we do not get the right education either. So you have to educate yourself with the right way. And Torah is a guide. Torah is a guide for us. What does it say? If you follow the Torah, you will be called a wise people. So we follow the Torah. We are a wise people. If we follow the Torah, Torah lays out the principles. Choose life. It says, I set before you life and death. Death is anything that takes you away from happy living. That's death. Anything that takes you away from happy living is death. If you want to follow death, you go into this misery. Maybe it's a bill, maybe it's something else. Death is death. That is how you're killing yourself slowly. But if you take your ways, to something else on the right-hand side, the right-hand side is life. Well, choose life. Don't choose death. Keep focusing on the good. Keep focusing on that batch of money coming in. Keep focusing on receiving abundance. And abundance is coming. Abundance is here. But you've got to keep focusing on it. You've got to keep trying to take your negative focus away by consciously focusing on the positive. Consciously, when you make a covenant with God, you're not going to keep saying, why is this happening? You're going to say, thank God for the good that is happening in my life. Every day you're going to give thanks. Before you go to bed, you're going to give thanks. You're going to say, thank God for all the good that's happening in my life. Thank you, Master of the universe. Thank you for all the good that you're doing in my life. I bless your holy name. I thank you. I bless you. Gratitude. Gratitude is a key. The second thing that is a key to success in your life is forgiveness. Gratitude and forgiveness are the two pillars that will make you an abundant man, an abundant business, a husband, abundant wife, abundant son. All of those things will come with gratitude and forgiveness. Those are so what to do to God, and tell God that you're grateful for all this thing. Even write them down. I'm grateful for the car that I drive. I'm grateful for the food that I eat. My goodness, it's a blessing. Look at the people in the world today with coronavirus and all that going on. Some people can't get out of their houses. So we got to give thanks. we've got to give thanks to God for that. We can't just, we can't just be blindsided about it. We have to thank God. We have to thank God for our lives. We have to thank God for our health. I mean, health is such a key thing. People get ill and they get worried and they get sick and they get from more and more sickness they get into more and worse it gets. But if you, yearn for health, good health, if you have good health, give thanks. Write an affirmation. I have great health. Write that affirmation. Make it part of your life and keep it there. Don't change it. That affirmation is going to live with you. You're not going to change that affirmation on a week. I have great health is an affirmation that stays with you forever. So with that, Torah is about life. Sabbath is about life. 6 days of labor, 6 days of manifestation, 6 days of imagination, 7th day of rest. That's the Sabbath, by the way. So make a plan in your life. Set yourself these things and then allow yourself to continue in that particular way. The whole story in the Bible, the whole story in the Bible is not about some religious mumbo-jumbo that people teach you. It is about your forthrightness with God. It is about your forthrightness with life. It is about truth and justice. That's it. Those two things count. Truth and justice. Rest is just all BS. Forget about the rest. If you live a life of truth and justice, you will gain all the good in the world. And if you don't, then of course you will suffer along the way. So with that, I just like to tell you that for myself, I've always focused on truth and justice. I've lived the truth and I've lived justice, and I've always tried to help people who, been unjustly treated, and I've lifted the widow. I've always lifted up the orphan. I've lived life, and I'm seeing the benefits. I'm seeing the benefits all around me. I'm seeing the benefits, the blessings that come into my life as a result of that. And so I encourage you to continue to do the same. Continue to seek the same for yourself. And you will do great. Our prophet summed it up the same way. Our prophet summed it up in exactly the same way, that this is where life actually comes and stands. And, in verse 19 of this same Parsha that we're reading today, this is a Parsha, by the way, chapter 30, verse 19, it says, I call the Shema'im, the heavens, and the earth to record this day against you, this day, today, 2020, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Therefore choose life, that both you and your seed may live. Now, seed is plural, by the way. Seed is not, seed in the Hebrew is always singular, always. But it actually means your generations. It means that whatever I do today, and I do it the right way, if I manifest today, I do it the correct way, my children and my children's children will benefit. And Rabbi Kefa will be a witness to that, because, Rabbi Kefa has Nakshan, he's a little baby. He's going to be 1 year old next week, Baruch Hashem Yahweh. I'm very happy for him. Happy birthday to you, Nakshan, from this end. And he will be producing more children, and this is Rabbi Kefa's genealogy. This is his lineage now, and he's going to reap the benefits and the rewards of a Torah father, a father that can teach him Torah and the right principles, and he will benefit, and his children will benefit, and his children's children will benefit. Baruch Shem Yahweh. What amazing, amazing little testimony that Rabbi Kefa will have to tell. When Rabbi Kefa is 100 years old, and is 95 years old, he'll be telling you this testimony of how his children and children's children are benefiting as a result of the Torah instruction that is giving them today. I think that's absolutely wonderful. I'm really happy that, our people are doing great over there in the U.S., even though, there are cases of coronavirus, they're coming and going, but stay strong, stay in the Torah, and don't be, weak-kneed, and don't be weak-eyed. Keep manifesting, keep perseverance, keep doing it, and you will get everything you desire. Baruch Shem Yahweh. On a pass to Rabbi Kefa. Rabbi Kefa, over to you today. Have a great day, great Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah, shalom to you over there, HaKohen, that side of the world, Baruch Hashem, and to God for your words. They're words that are truly heartfelt this end. To God, Atar, for letting me know I can be heard. You too, Oliver, Vive la France. I tell you what, Kohen, it could not have happened without you. Because I tell you, Nakshan wouldn't be here without the Kohen in the gate. Baruch Hashem. Because I tell you, I never saw myself going to China. I never saw that. And what HaKohen said, I think, was very, very important. One of the key things that he said, Shabbat Shalom to you, Ursula, over there. I think, Ursula, you're there in California, right? I know all is well for you there in California. And where's our other Californian that's in the room? She's not here yet. Simha as well. California seems to be going through their fire season. And your fire is already lit, Ursula. You're protected. And my desire is that you prosper during this time, as you see others around you are probably not of your mindset, peace of mind. And HaKohen talked about justice. I want to encourage all of you to also make your wheelhouse humility and happiness. If you do that, my goodness, Bob is your uncle. Humility and happiness. You do those two things, I call them the two H's. Humble and happy. These things will take you very far and give you a great quality of life that you desire for yourself. Because you have to look at it at the end of the day. Most people don't desire a happy life. Some folks don't even desire life in itself when you begin to study them and examine them. Because I wrote something down that you'll find very interesting. I can tell you what you choose by what you do. Your doing is proving you. You see, people, if you just study people and watch what they do, you'll find out all about them. Don't listen too much about what they say. But I would encourage you just to watch what they do. How many of you have been hoodwinked and bamboozled by what people say? I'll tell you, I have. I have been hoodwinked and bamboozled by what people say. And I didn't take the opportunity to pay attention to what they're doing. If I would have focused more on that at that time, then, I wouldn't have been hoodwinked and bamboozled, because I'm watching what you do. Now I've come into understanding of that you have to watch what people do. HaKohen said something in his lecture that really stuck with me. And it's one word. That word is opposite. And you listen to that. You say it to yourself. Say opposite, and you say it out loud. Say opposite. And I firmly believe, as part of our blessing is to be dispersed in these nations, which it is a great blessing, to be scattered and dispersed into the four corners of this earth, our books tell us. And for what reason? Not for us to blend in and become the nation, but to be lights to the nation. Not to become like the nations, but to be a light. Not to become a likeness of the nations. How many of you get that? Now, Israel's waking up now, Baruch Hashem, from that likeness to the nations to become a light. You get what I'm saying? All of you are witnesses and watchers to that very point. Is that at one time you were a likeness to the nation that you're in. Put up a capital L if you can agree with me. Is that you were a likeness to your nation. You just thought you were that African American. You thought you were that black person, whatever they wanted to call you. You thought you were that Frenchman. You thought you were that you were a Brit through and through. You bled your British blood, or But again, there was more to you than that. To die for your responses than that. Now you realize that you're no longer that likeness to the nations, but that you are a light to the nations. So it's an opposite thing that needs to happen. When you came into the knowledge of who you really are and serving the powers of Israel, and that you have the DNA of the powers of Israel, you realize that you are a light. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you even had any kind of stint in Catholicism or in Christianity, you understand that you're a light. They talk about it all the time. They condition, oh, you're a light. You a light. I'm a light to the world. I'm a light, blah, 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 and blah. But again, at the end of the day, in Christianity and Catholicism, I sum it up as just a whole bunch of big words. It's just words. But no meaning behind them. There's no light behind the words. It's just a whole bunch of just, words. Phrases and hymns that give you goosebumps and songs that make you jump up and down. But at the end of the day, what do you have after that? Do you have life? Do you have a light? I submit to you, no. And this is why we continued our search. We continue to seek out that treasure until, we come home to the scrolls of this Torah, Baruch Hashem. Everything that is written in the scrolls of this Torah. And if you notice, the majority of the world are totally opposite to the Torah, right? They'll nitpick throughout the whole of the history of of the Hebrews, of the Israelites, which is the Bible. But they won't touch into that Torah too much. Have you noticed that? They won't dibble and dabble into the Torah, but all the other books, oh my goodness, they'll go through all the other scrolls, but the first 5 books of Moses, they're kind of like untouchable. Religions don't want to be bothered with those books. They want to go opposite way. And what we want to do as the children of Israel is we want to come back. And so this is why you'll find that, growing up in the nations, being dispersed in these nations, being scattered to the 4 corners of this earth, you understand and you appreciate of what our prophets told us is that Israel would wake up out of a sleep. This is exactly what you and I did. Baruch Hashem. We woke up out of a sleep. And what's one of the first things that you do when you wake up out of a sleep, out of a long sleep? Or you wake up out of a coma. Some of us was in a coma. So you wake up out of a coma. Is that you need to what? You need to reorient, right? You may need somebody. You need guidance, because you need to somebody to tell you the story, because you've been asleep for a long time. When somebody wakes up out of a coma, they need to reorient to themselves, right? Who am I? Well, what happened? Why am I here? Where have I been? This is why the Kohanim are so important to the children of Israel. And the Kohen in our time is so very important, in our period is so very important, because he helps us reorient ourselves to who we really are, not to what we've been conditioned to. So it's a paradigm shift, as some of you have put it. It's a total change from it's the opposite from what you've been doing or what you've been taught or what you've been conditioned to thinking. Prayer is totally different than what Christianity and Catholicism tells me about prayer. It's totally different. Our lifestyle, the way we live our life, is totally different than what Judaism taught or is teaching or continues to teach in their traditions time and time again. If you just follow this rote, then you're okay. Judaism will still leave you wanting, you see. So it's a total different. It's totally opposite. And you may have had this testimony spoken to you from your family members, friends, and loved ones as well. It's like, well, you're totally opposite from what I am. You're totally different than how I think. I mean, you changed. You're not the same anymore. Well, that don't take it as an insult. Take it as a compliment. And say, I thank the powers of Israel and keep it moving. Thank you for that compliment. And yes, we can agree to disagree and still have a great relationship. How many of you have relations like that? Where you right now, you agree to disagree with someone, but yet you have a great relationship. That person can still be considered a friend to you. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that's totally opposite from what they teach you in your conditioning in the nations. Well, if you're not a Democrat and if you're not a Republican, then I can't agree. We can't come together. We can't eat together. We can't drink together. And Hakohen has told you many times, and this is so very, very true, is that these so-called Republicans and Democrats, after the cameras are off and after the news feeds are off, guess what they do? They go and have steak dinners together. They go to the bar and have a drink together. That's what they do. You see? That's totally what they do. And then the next day they put on the Republican and Democrat hat and blah, 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 and they go at it again. And then when the day's over, they take that off. They take those robes off, and then they go have a beer together. Or they go partake in some wine together, or they go have a meal, and their families. All these Democrats, they know each other's families and blah, blah, blah. So It's totally opposite from what your thinking was. And how many of you, that was your thought process coming into your awakening? Is that, man, this is totally opposite from what I was taught. What did Hakohen tell us in his lecture? It's so very true. Is that we have to teach our children. We can't leave it up to these school teachers to do it. And do you know, this is one of the greatest blessings of the corona, is that many parents had to sit down and actually teach their children. And then, you know what? Many parents came to the realization that, what these children are being taught is worthless. Many people during the corona, like, well, what's really going on in these schools? And now that schools are trying to open back up, guess what? Most people here in North America want a choice now in their education of their children. They don't want them just to go back to some hodgepodge, school, public school, and blah blah blah, and get on with it. But now they're going to be more active and more and participate more in the development of their children. I tell you, this is one of the greatest blessings of the corona. Is that people had to come together, families had to come together. More importantly, whether they came together or not, it didn't matter. They were forced in the same room to be together, so that they can, and then they had to learn to get along with one another, or actually see what's going on. Because in the hodgepodge busy world out here, you see, the point that needs to be made this day is that Torah needs to be made not only real but reality. That's total opposite of what religions do. Religions leave you wanting for a fantasy, right, Hakohen? They leave you wanting for a rapture, and they make movies about it. They leave you in wanting for a paradise with how many? 72 virgins, Hakohen, in Islam, I think it is. They leave. See, they leave you in a fantasy somewhere. But what Torah does is totally the opposite of that. Torah reels you into reality, to where you look at this Torah today and you can see how you can take from it and apply it to your daily life. Humility, happiness, that can be done today. You don't have to wait for that when you pass on and you take your last breath on this earth. It's too late to be happy then. You know what I mean? The same way with whatever you're desiring for yourself. I mean, do you get how total opposite it is? Heaven? Do I have to wait to get to heaven? Or can I have heaven right now? Which one would you prefer? I'm not going to wait till I take my last breath and say, okay, well, I put all my chips in over here. I sure hope I get into heaven. See that hope word? That's what happens when you're living in a fantasy land. It's all about a hope. Not about that I can have now. Another H word. I can have it now. I can have heaven right now. I can have that mansion right now. I can have that hubby right now. I can have that wonderful wife right now. Get this. I can have that virgin right now. Why do I have to wait till I die to get a virgin? You were saying, Rabbi Kefa, that's not, it is real. There are still virgins on this planet, by the way. And if you don't believe me, I know Hakohen will acknowledge that there's still virgins on this planet. There may not be too many in the West, but I tell you, you'll be able to find some in the West as well. Because embedded deep into Christianity, you'll find some, even in Catholicism as well, is that you'll find some women that are still virgins. Have never been touched by a man, Baruch Hashem. They may be few in number, but they're still there. Right, Oliver? How can I tell you, the East has many virgins. And you'll find them. China the same way. You'll find some in China as well. Many virgins, women that don't, they wait for a man to get them a house before you can deal with them. They're still out there. They believe you me. They're still out there. That coin says Catholicism too, the Virgin Mary. Yeah, you see? So there's still virgins out there, believe it or not. So why wait? Why wait on virgins to come after you take your last breath, when you can go out and you can source and seek and affirm a virgin for you now? Same way with you women in the room. You know, you can go out and find that Denzel. You don't have to wait on Denzel to come to you in an Amazon box. You can go out and source your Denzel right now, your Denzel Washington. Or your, you know, Dennis Cage, Nicolas Cage, whoever you see as that, you know, as that person on your pedestal. Put them on your radar, put them on your target, and go get them. That's the pursuit of life right there. That's pursuing life in a positive way. Now you're going to see, because we're all given a choice, Mishpachah, and I would encourage you all, don't degrade those people who have I would say a lessened perception of what life really is. Just because they don't see life the way you see life, that doesn't mean that, you know, they can't be beneficial to you. You can be beneficial to them as well. And you all can get along in a great relation. Because what you must understand is this, and what we all must understand, family, is this right here. Our Kohen read to you at the beginning of our Parsha, it talks about in Deuteronomy chapter 29, I'm going to start reading from verse 15. It goes on and talks about the covenant. But even more importantly, look at Deuteronomy chapter 29, verses 15. Again, I read from the Abrahamic-Faith Bible, the Hidden Truth We Break Scrolls. And by the way, I like to put this out as well, because we've been getting a lot of phone calls about folks wanting to get the Hidden Truth We Break Scrolls and can't find them or can't purchase them on the website. For you listening via YouTube, if you can't purchase them directly off of the Forever-Israel website, then .com, you can also go directly to Amazon, and you can make your purchase there by typing in the Hidden Truth We Break Scrolls Bible, or typing in Rabbi Simon Altaf's name in the search box on Amazon, and you'll be able to purchase them there, along with all the litany of other books that are available to you, Torah tools that are available to you to help you begin to live life, and that life more abundantly. Again, we read from the Abrahamic-Faith Bible, the Hidden Truth We Break Scrolls, Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 15. But with him that stands here with us this day before Yahweh our power, and also, it's talking about the covenants now, and also with him that is not here with us this day. See, I wasn't with Moses during that time. And I'm pretty sure many of you weren't there either, that you can remember. Like Hakoin was saying, there was this one individual as Nakshan walks in. Oh, by the way, Nakshan is walking now. My goodness, he's walking like a true trooper. Yeah, I mean, he's just walking around the house. He looks like this little man. I tell you, Mishpachah, he's walking now. So he'll be one year next week. And my little Lion King is just walking around the house, trying to climb the stairs now. I tell you, he gets in everything. He's been falling down a lot. He has a lot of bumps and bruises from walking. Because guess what? When you walk, sometimes what happens? You fall down, right? So you fall down, and guess what? Getting back up, he has like a busted lip, little bloody lip. I'm telling you, he's been falling and just walking around falling. But guess what? Nakshan every time gets right back up. He gets right back up and he keeps walking. He falls down. He'll brush himself off. I tell you, I'm learning so much from Nakshan. He said, you know what? You may fall down sometime, but you know what? You get right back up and you continue walking. And then you fall down again and you get right back up and you continue walking. Nakshan. So he has a little a busted lip. I mean, he's doing some head first falls, and some he's catching himself, but he gets back up every single time, and he continues to walk. I mean, he ain't about to walk. I'm looking at the little man walking. I tell you, this is all new to me, Mishpachah. So I see him walking around the house. He's bumping into walls. He's hanging on the Pharaoh's tail, and Pharaoh's running for the hills. I tell you. So it's beautiful to see, and it's everything that I imagined to see. I always wanted to see the pitter patter of little feet, and all you hear is little feet, tuk, 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 tuk. And that just encourages me to continue to walk. Continue to walk. Although we may fall down sometime, it's okay. You brush yourself off, you get back up. You may get a busted lip sometime, a couple of little bruises here and there. It scrapes. But what do? You get right back up. You get right back up. You get right back up and you continue walking. And you forget about the fall because you're so happy that you can walk around on your 2 feet. And that's a beautiful thing, Mishpachah, that I'm beholding. And I give thanks to my Kohen in the gate, Rabbi Simon Altaf, for giving me the guidance and instruction and direction and point me in the right way. And then, believe me, it was total opposite from what I was thinking. I had no thought for China. I had no thought for the East. But HaKohen pointed me in the right direction. And I took his instruction and his guidance and I went for it. And now every day for me is a blessing. And I'm so grateful. I'm so happy and humble. To what? To have a son? My goodness. It's what I've always wanted. It's been my desire. And now I have a son. Now I live on. Just like HaKohen told you. That's real to me. I live on. And I'm teaching Nakshan the way. And I'm teaching Nakshan the ability to have what? An abundance of a life. Not just live life, but have that life and have that life even more abundantly. And I'm teaching him about our heritage. He knows that he's a Israelite. He knows it from birth. He knows it. He lives it. And he would just move from strength to strength to strength to strength. I tell you, so yeah, Nakshan just walking around the house, and I tell you, it's a beautiful thing. He'll turn 1 next week, and I'm totally happy. He'll be 1 year young, and I'm totally, totally happy. Well, he'll join all the rest of you youngsters in the room. Some of you are 30-year young. Some of you are 50-year young. Some of you are 20-year young. Some of you just say, Rabbi, I'm just young. And so be it. Be young. And live life to its fullest, because life is totally beautiful. So this Torah, I wasn't there with Moses. Nakshan wasn't there with Moses, not my Nakshan. But this Torah is for him that is not here with us this day. This Torah is for you and I. And for, just like HaKohen said, for anyone who's willing to embrace and come into the commonwealth of Israel. And take on the yoke of the Torah. Because guess what? This Torah is totally opposite from what we've been taught. El Woman of 10 said, does he love chocolate as much as you do? Absolutely. I am the Father. Just like they said, the more Povich show, you are the Father, and I am the Father. Oh yes, he sure does. He loves some chocolate. Willy Wonka Jr. is here. The Willy Wonka Jr. of the Jews is here. He loves some chocolate. Roars like a lion. Oh, Baruch Hashem. Just totally happy. I wake up and I look at him as an experiment every day. I'm looking at him and I'm like, man, boy, you look just like me. Wow. It's amazing how they can look just like you. And I'm like, Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. What a blessing. What a blessing. And I give thanks to powers. I give thanks to the priesthood of Israel, the Kohen in the gate, Rabbi Simon Altav. I tell you, it's just, you know, what better way to appreciate life than to be a facilitator in bringing forth life? This is when you can have a high appreciation for life. When you a facilitator in bringing forth life, then you know how valuable and how you're highly appreciative and you have high gratitude. You really do. And then just, you know, just the way he looks at you, you're like, wow, man, I'll tell you. He looks at me like he knows, okay, I trust you. I put all my faith in you, and I trust you. I tell you, they're walking with something else. When you have to take those steps, and I'm about 10 paces away with my arms out, and he's like, well, do I take these steps? Knowing that, and he wasn't thinking, well, I may fall down, but he saw those arms, those outstretched arms that were just outstretched and said, come on, Nakshan. And here he comes. He takes those steps of faith, and he walks, and he takes that step, then he takes another step. Sometimes he falls down, and he does a little whining, and he gets back up, we dust him off, and we do it again. Until now he's just full-fledged, just, you know, now he pushes my hand away, like, oh, I don't need you, you know. I kind of put some tears up there for a minute, because he's coming into himself, so he pushes my hands away, like, oh yeah, I got this, Dad, I'm doing this myself. Well, he doesn't allow me to put him in the standing position. He'll go and he'll climb up on the bookcase and he'll put himself up erect, and then he'll begin to walk, or he'll use his walker, or he'll go to Pharaoh and the dog, and he'll use Pharaoh to get up on his two feet, and then he'll just be off and walking around. these are the kind of moments that are priceless, that you can't put a monetary figure on these moments. And I know I'm probably preaching to the choir because all of you have had this experience. But you know what? I want to invoke that experience in you again. I want to renew it in you again, because our relationship with powers is the same way. Is that we must learn how to walk. It's opposite of what you think. You're not getting older, you're actually getting younger, Ms. Fahar. It's totally opposite. How many of you believe that? Is that right now you're actually getting younger. You're not getting older. You're a child. You're a child of Israel, and you're getting younger. Look yourself in the mirror in the morning when you look at that man or that woman in the mirror and say, man, I'm getting younger. And you will be getting younger. And I have the DNA of El Shaddai. Then you will have the DNA of El Shaddai. Because that Torah, we wasn't there with Moses, but that Torah, as explained in Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 15, that Torah also is with him or her that is not here with us this day. Torah stands forever. Torah is for him or her this day. You listening via YouTube, it's for you this day if you're willing to come into the covenants. If you're willing to accept and embrace the vows and the oaths, Baruch Hashem, then you too can be a participant. But it's not going to be about, it's not so much about what you say, it's about what you do. Doing the opposites of what the nations do. I heard that in Rabbi Simon Alter Hakohin's lecture. I'm not telling you to come off the grid this day. Burn your credit cards. That's not what it means. That means if you're concerned, if you have your child in daycare all the time, and I'm not knocking daycare, but you don't want your child being raised by a stranger. You want to raise your child. And you need to have a finger or a hand or two hands in making sure that the rearing of your child is to your specifications and to your desires. You see, this all falls back into another one of the benefits of the corona. Is the corona put family first. The COVID, it put family first because family had to stay with family, period, at the end of the day. So it kind of reset, what's important. And a lot of folks realize, my goodness, a lot of things can get accomplished at the home. And a lot of folks realize is that a lot of things wasn't getting accomplished before the corona, before COVID. Home things weren't getting accomplished. Yeah, you may have bigger and grandiose things, but I tell you what, the reset is back to the home. So for us children of Israel, I mean, that was our wheelhouse. Oh, you could stay home? That was lovely for us, right? Because we love our families. And we got opportunity to even nurture them even more. And we realize that now we can run businesses from home. We don't have to be in somebody's building paying enormous, monthly rents and this, that, the other, and the third. We can run our businesses from home. Great innovation has come out of the COVID virus. Great innovation has come out. So you don't have to, you see things in a different light. So like Hakohin mentioned, he talked about a reset in his lecture. Life is about resetting. You have to reset every now and then. Once you meet your goal, you don't just stop and say, okay, that's it. No, now it's time to reset. And start up another goal, another desire for yourself. And some desires are perpetual. You never reset them, right? Like Hakohin mentioned, he talked about it. I mean, that health affirmation that I have a superior immune system. I am a superior immune system. I don't ever reset that one. That's perpetual. That one will go on and on. I am perfect health. I don't ever reset that one either. That's perpetual. We continue to move from strength to strength. But again, we must begin to see things in an opposite kind of way. It's very important. that you begin to embrace the opposite. I'm not saying come off the grid, burn up your credit cards, but I'm saying for you on the inside of you, self, subconsciously, for you to begin to see things in a different way. And you could begin to do things in a different way as well. It'll be more beneficial to you and your family. More importantly to you and what you desire for yourself. What do you desire? What are your marks that you have? Now's the time. Life is about meeting your marks. Life is not about going, finishing it, and then say, well, I hope I get in on, so that I can meet my marks now after I've done spent a life of just what, a depression and suffering. That powers will have mercy on me because I suffered my whole life. I tell you, what a waste of a life. But yet many people think like that. Some of you may have friends, family members, and loved ones that see it that way. Oh, no, this life I need to be poor so I can be rich in the next. That's foolishness. You want to go from rich to rich to richer to richest. You don't want to just, oh, well, I'm going to be poor now and then I'll get rich. Well, how are you going to have rich man mentality on the other side when you never experience richness on this side? You see what I'm saying? You have to have some experience in that area. So when we wake up, we come up out of this coma that we were put in. Some of it was induced. Because you got to see that power has tucked us away in these nations for this very period now. For us to wake up and do great and marvelous things. Deuteronomy 29 verse 16 goes on to say, for you know we have dwelt in the land of Mitzrayim, in Egypt, and how we come through the nations which you pass by. That's all in our history. You can read our history when Moses took our forefathers, Moshe took our forefathers out of Egypt looking like Mr. T, and all of the hurdles that we went through, just like teaching Nakshan the walk, the ups and downs, the fall down, the scrapes, and the busted lips and all that comes with the walk. It's all part and parcel of the walk. The importance of taking the time factor out of it. Because let's face it, at the end of the day, the original that came out of Mitzrayim, as discussed here by Moses in our Torah, not too many of them saw the land flowing with milk and honey, did they? So yes, chalk up the experience of what you've been through and your conditioning while you were in your slumber in the nations. It's just that. It's passing through stages, phases to get to where you are this day. And don't sit there and dwell on Egypt. Yeah, remember that it happened. But most folks in their awakening still want to be asleep. They wake up as Israel, but yet they still want to be asleep and enslaved by the Egyptians. Oh, I'm just a slave. Oh, we cursed. You hear it by what they say, because then what they say is manifested by what they do. Oh no, I'm just a slave. I'm just a slave. I'm cursed to the tooth. Well, guess what? You're going to be cursed to the tooth. And what's going to be presented to you in the reeling in of reality is just that. Curse after curse after curse. Hospitalization after hospitalization. Monetary depression, because your money your bank account's going to look just as empty as a church on Monday morning, and the whole nine. And then we go into Deuteronomy chapter 30, which we really need to read. We need to open this up from the Abrahamic-Faith Bible. You hear the Truth Be Break Scrolls. Deuteronomy chapter 30, I'll start at verse 10. If you shall carefully listen to the voice of Yahweh your power and guard his commandments and his statutes which are written in the scroll of the Torah, and if you return to Yahweh your power with all of your heart and with all of your soul, It's that return. That's what we're talking about this day, that return. You see, now you have to begin to do the opposite of what the nation's conditioning you to do. You see where we're going? You must return. There's a return that must take place. And I give thanks to the Creator, to the powers of Israel. That's really real. All of you are watchers and witnesses to that return. How many of you, put up a capital R if you have returned? Like, this Torah is not lying, right? This Torah is telling it like you've actually returned back to Yahweh, your power. There has to be a return. Now, in that return, well, like, what are you saying, Rabbi? Because I read a verse in here that Christians love to use. How many of you heard this from the Christians? To offer your responses on your return. And I welcome your return, and I rejoice with your return as well. Because I returned too as well with you, family. We returned. But how many of you heard this statement from the Christians? Oh, brother, you must circumcise your heart. How many of you heard that before? And now they'll take that and they'll toss it any kind of way. Oh, you must circumcise your heart, brother. Your heart has been circumcised. All the time, right? But do you really know what that means? Do you know what that means? Is that you have to get in and you have to cut. You have to cut, like in circumcision. Is that you have to cut deep into your heart to get to self. Because you can't return to Yahweh your power unless you return to yourself. You got to return to yourself. You got to return to loving yourself. Look at the end of that verse in verse 10 of Deuteronomy chapter 30. If you return to Yahweh your power with all of your heart and with all of your soul. You see, you must begin to return to yourself first. Not returning to pastor, not returning to anything outside of yourself, like Cohen said, like Cohen mentioned that in his lecture. But you must begin to return to yourself. You cannot return to Yahweh your power without first returning to self. For long periods of your life, you've been looking for something outside of self, correct? And now you realize it's total opposite. I should have been looking within the whole time. But we've been conditioned to think that we have to look outside of ourselves. We have to seek for a heaven that's outside of ourselves in the sky. We have to go look for the rapture that's going to happen is coming in the clouds. We have to go search for that God outside of ourselves and seek God outside like a treasure. We have to go seek it when we should have been looking within. Total opposite, right? Total opposite from what we've been taught. The scrolls of the Torah are within you. If you return, then you're going to want to embrace the scrolls of that Torah of Moshe, of Musa. And then Moshe goes on and he expounds on this very point. Look at Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 11. For this commandment which I command you this day is not hidden from you, neither is it far off. Hint, hint. Neither is it far off. It's not hidden from you, and it's not far off. Has anybody ever left himself? You can't leave self. You can ignore self, but you can't leave. Self is with you. It's contained with you. You cannot leave self. It's always with you. You might ignore self. You might forget self, but self don't ever leave you. I tell you, Moses is expounding on this. He's really hitting it home. He's knocking the ball out of the park here. Baruch Hashem, Moshe. It's not hidden from you. And many a years. Daniel says, even be beside yourself. Indeed. Indeed, Daniel. LOL, laugh out loud. It's not hidden from you. Look at Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 12. It is not in the Shemaim. That's where I was looking. Christianity, Catholicism told me to look to the heavens. I'm going to look for Jesus to come. He's coming in the clouds. and then he's bringing all his angels with him. But what does the Torah tell us? Just the opposite. It is not in the Shemayim that you should say, who should go up for us to the Shemayim and bring it to us that we may hear and do it. But it's not there. But that's what Christianity tells you. Catholicism got you looking in the heavens. Be more of a suffering servant, my brother, and you will get more blessings in the world to come. Blah, blah, blah. Powers, the creator of all things, of the heavens and the universes, did not put you on this earth to suffer. You YouTubers, my desire is that that's not a revelation to you. Is that powers didn't put you on this earth for you to suffer. Yah forbid. The creator of all things never intended for anybody. I mean, look at the birds of the air. Do they suffer? And as I was listening to Hakoi's lecture, you know what came to my mind? I was thinking about Yeshua ben Yosef. And when you sum up his life on the face of this earth, you can sum up that his life was shortened because he did the opposite. He did the opposite of what was popular, and people didn't like him doing the opposite. Saying the opposite. Not going with the mainstream. So, to those that were so-called in power at that time, they didn't like it because he didn't roll with what was going on. And if you notice, yes, he found popularity amongst the people, but he wasn't popular amongst the, let's just say, the political side of things, or the powers that be. And if you notice, it kind of marries with President Trump, right? He was elected. Why? Because he wanted to drain the swamp, as he said, right? And believe me, there's been a lot of swamp draining going on. He kept his word, didn't he, in that area? And also is that he was opposite from a politician. He didn't think like a politician. He thought like a businessman. And so he was popular amongst the people, and that the people elected him, you see. Because, again, power to the people. The power to vote is within the people's hand. And the people said, yeah, we need a change, man. You can't sit here and run with the status quo. We need to do something different. We've been running with the status quo and it hadn't been working. So how about a change? How about something different? How about something fresh and new? Daniel, a.k.a. Tor Walker, saying, funny you say that about birds. I'm listening to you while I'm watching a falcon gliding freely in the sky, who doesn't look like he's suffering to me either. Oh, indeed. No suffering there from the birds of the air, right? Baruch Hashem. So, if birds aren't suffering, and I like to look at birds as well, me and Nachan make it a point to go out in the evening and look at birds fly. They don't suffer. They walk around, they chirp, 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 flying around, chirp, 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 flying from here to there. They're so free because they can fly anywhere they want to fly, go anywhere they want to go. All about their business. It's a beautiful thing. Even more so, as human beings, being given dominion over the face, over this earth. How much more so? We're not put here to suffer, Miss Bahar. Yet, I will say this, some folks choose to suffer. That's a choice. But the default setting is, if you're a human on the face of this earth, it was never meant for you to be put here on this earth to suffer. That's not default setting, by the way. It's meant for you to be happy, to be at peace with yourself, to be happy, and at peace with yourself. Notice I'm saying with yourself, to be happy with yourself. Because again, how can one be happy? Happiness is not very far from you. It's not beyond the sea, as we see in Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 13. Neither is beyond the sea that you should say, who shall go over the sea for us and bring it to us that we may hear it and do it. Verse 14. But the word is very near to you, in your mouth, in your heart, that you may do it. The word is in you. You are the word, and the word is in you. The word is whatever you want it to be. If your word is suffering that's coming from out of you, then guess what? You're going to suffer. If your word is depression that's coming out of you, guess what? You're going to be depressed. But if your word is prosperity, guess what? You're going to be prosperous. And if your word is health and abundance, and guess what? You're going to be healthy and in abundance. If your word is happy, that's coming outside of you. All this is coming outside. You have to go search for happiness. Happiness is within. You don't have to go searching for peace. Peace is within. And I don't know if you noticed, but they did. I mean, the peace agreement was signed, sealed, and the president talked about it the other day. I don't know if you caught that, but history was made, and the team that put together this big peace agreement, it was beautiful to see. Over there in what they call the Middle East, the UAE coming together with Israel, beautiful thing, beautiful thing. And just like the vice president said, he said it, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said the good book said, blessed are the peacemakers. Baruch Hashem. And that is true. Blessed are the peacemakers. So that within you, if you so-called blessed, then guess what's going to be within you? Peace. And peace is going to flow out of you, because that's what's within your wheelhouse. That's what that makes up, self. It's peace. Is you're at peace with yourself. You're happy with yourself. For some, it's been a struggle. Again, just like Nachshon, you get up and you start walking, and sometimes you fall down. It's been a struggle to find yourself, because that's foreign to you. Self has always been there, but he's been asleep. She's been asleep. She's been ignored. He's been ignored. Baruch Hashem. Been ignored. But it's been like walking. That's why I told you, all of us, we're young. We're just as young as we're young whippersnappers, learning how to walk. Just like my son Nachshon, learning how to walk. Finding ourselves, being happy with ourselves, loving ourselves, being at peace with ourselves. That's where it starts. And you're going to find when most folks don't have this. And so they exhibit things in the physical world that are not of that, because peace is not within them. So how are they going to exhibit peace outside of them? Because they can't. Can't go search for peace. Peace is very close to you. Just like happiness and love, they're very, very close to you. And then Moshe goes on to say in this Torah, the scrolls of this Torah, he goes on to say this in Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 15. See, I have set before you this day life and good, death and what? Evil. It's set before you. There, you sum that up as choice. You have the ability to choose how you want to live your life. This is why don't waste your energy on folks who choose to have a life of suffering, because they choose that life of suffering. They choose to live that way. I guarantee you, I have seen some, truly we are some blessed people, but I've seen some people that's not so blessed. I've been around some people that's not so blessed as I am. But you know what? They may have holes in the ceiling of their, cracks in their foundation, holes in the ceiling of their homes. But guess what? They're some of the happiest and humblest people you ever want to meet. And I'm pretty sure can tell you stories of folks who don't have who can't, whose material possessions can't touch the shoestrings of you and I. Yet they are some of the happiest, humblest people that you ever want to meet. Because they don't allow their circumstance to dictate, how they desire to live their life. They don't allow their circumstance to do it. When in the West, it's total opposite. I mean, my goodness. Everything's dictated by the circumstance. You see, you need to reverse that. Oppose the circumstance and choose and choose to live a life how you want to live it. At peace, full of joy and happiness and humility and gratitude, or just the opposite. If you want to live on the opposite spectrum, and it's all a choice. You can't sit there and point the finger outside of self and say, oh, this one made me do it. It was because of that slavery. It was because my forefathers picked cotton. What does that have to do with bees in Colombia? Your forefathers picked cotton. Did you pick cotton? Your forefathers made bricks. Did you make bricks? Come on now. Yael, woman of 10, saying, I just witnessed that this week in people choosing to be miserable and trying to make all those around them miserable as well. Believe me, it happens. As students of human nature, you need to guard and be on guard, for this, so that you can go in that environment, either run away or infuse life in that environment and be some light to it and say, okay, yeah, you see that, but you know what? For me, it's just another day in paradise. And I give thanks to powers. It's just another day in paradise. I can walk, I can talk, I'm breathing, I can eat from my mouth, and I don't have a tube in my stomach. I can get up and walk, and I'm not in a wheelchair. I'm totally happy, and I'm grateful. You see, you take this in these situations, and you infuse what? You infuse life into them, because a lot of people can't see the road for the trees because they live in darkness. So you, as the light, you must go in and you must give them a different perspective. And if they continue, to choose to live in that sight, and so be it. But at least you infuse something, you see, something positive. And you say, wait a minute, well, what do you mean this is paradise? I mean, I can have paradise now? You absolutely can. You can make or break yourself right now. You have the ability in this life to do great things, or you have the ability to do not so great things. It's all up to you what you want. Now that's easy for you to say because you have this, that. Well, you can have those things too, if that's going to make you happy. You see? Yeah, a woman says, I infused light in life and was graciously thanked, and the negative person got mad. And that's what they're going to do. And then you leave them to it. You see, I leave you in your state of being. That's what you desire for yourself. Well, my desire is that if you're happy being that way, then so be it. Find your happiness and your peace. If that gives you peace, being angry, and you're going to find people that's like this. This is not a one-off. There are people that are actually like this, you see? That are actually happy being mad. I'm telling you. Happy being angry, happy being depressed, happy seeing people don't succeed. I'm like, what the heck? But there are people like that. They'll come to you and they'll give you all the gossip about the negativity about other folks. And they're happy doing it. I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, how you doing? How's your life? What does you telling me all that have to do with you? Tell me something about yourself. Good or bad, I just want to hear about you. How you doing? You see, Daniel says, I think I use that statement. I take my leave. I take my leave. I take my leave. You in your being. Yeah, leave them in that. Leave them in that state. You see, leave them in that state. Give them an opportunity to see that there's in that darkness, there's just a crack of light in there that can be, that, if you can infuse something into them, so be it. Leave them a positive word. Leave them in positivity, Baruch Hashem, and keep it moving. Because you have you're not going to waste any energy on anything, nothing. You're not going to settle for anything less than positivity. But that Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 15 is very, very real. See, I have set before you this day life and good and death and evil. That's real. That's what you sum up life in a nutshell right there. What do you choose for this life for yourself? I knew there had to be more to this life than just going to Sunday church. And it's like, man, there's got to be more to life than this. I was put on this earth for more than just this Sunday church, man. There's got to be more, and sure enough, there was. When I began to establish that relationship with myself and build upon that and go from strength to strength, and I began to walk. I fell down sometimes, falling down, but that's okay. You dust yourself off, you get back up, and you just keep walking. Busted lip, little scrapes on the arm, on the feet, no problem. That's all part and parcel of it. Battle scars, I call them, Baruch Hashem. Because I may go through some battles and get scarred up, but I'm going to win the battle and I'm going to win the war. The war is already won. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 16. In that I command you this day to love Yahweh your power, and to walk in his halakha, and to guard his halachot and his statutes and his judgment, that you may live and multiply. Remember we talked about that love? How are you going to love Yahweh but you don't love yourself? Yahweh's within you. The powers of Israel is within you. The power of Israel is already within you. But if you don't love yourself, how are you going to love powers? You must love yourself. And some of us are walking and stumbling and fumbling with that. But we still walking, and we get back up and we realize, I got to love myself. 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 I do love myself. I love myself. You wake up in the morning, you look at me, oh, I love myself. Self, you some, I love you. That you may live and multiply. You want to live and multiply? Begin to love yourself. And you will infuse life not only in yourself, but those that are around you. And you'll multiply your friends. You'll multiply your money. You'll multiply your health. You'll multiply love. Love truly conquers all. But for many periods in my life, I thought I had to seek love outside of myself. And I was looking for love in all the wrong places, Daniel. Looking for love in all the wrong places. Trying to get approval of the love of others. But never really loving myself. Never understanding that I had to love myself first, YouTube listeners. I had to love myself first. And those of you who scan YouTube, you can see it time and time again. Of folks who don't love themselves. Oh, you can tell that person don't love themselves. But looking for love in all the wrong places. Love myself first, and then love just comes out of me. It's just love. I just love. You know what I mean? Yael Woman 10 says, I want to say publicly to our Kohen, thank you for all of your mentoring. You are definitely the gate to a new life. Thank you, and Tada, Baruch Hashem. I second those thoughts, Baruch Hashem. It's real. It's real. It is truly real. When you can begin to love yourself. When you can begin to love self, thus loving powers. Powers created you in his images. In the images of powers you were created. How are you not going to love that? Yet people don't. But people say, I can hate myself, but at the same time, go out and seek love, the love of others. And you know what? That formula will fail every single time. I tried that formula. Let me go seek out the love of others, thus neglecting loving myself. And believe me, every single time that relationship failed, how many of you have been in that, you have experience in that area, where you went and sought the love of others thinking, well, if I love others, then, everything will be all right. And you never realize that, it failed, and then you begin to realize, wait a minute. All these people can't be bad. Let me do some self-assessment. Let me work on myself first. Do I even love myself? Do I even know what myself likes? Have I even spent any time with myself? Yet all those years I was saying I love God. But it was just a statement. Remember I talked about you just make a statement, but there was no action behind that. I love God, I love God, I love God, I love God. But I didn't even love myself always and forever. Right? Learning now, Baruch Hashem, always and forever. It's beautiful. You're walking now, Baruch Hashem. You may fall down and get some bumps and bruises, you get up and walk again. But we must begin to establish that walk with ourselves and realize, man, I got to love myself. Thus, I love myself. I do love God. God loves me. But it's not going to happen just like Moses said in our Torah here, in the scrolls of this Torah. You don't have to go to the moon to find love. You don't have to go to the heavens to find love. Love is not that very far away from you. God is love. Powers is love. So I cannot reject love and then at the same time say I love powers. You see what I mean? It's like I'm hypocritical to self. And this is why we must spend time with ourselves and get to understand ourselves. I mean, this is real talk. Is real because we're real. We're real people, real talk. This is not no mumbo-jumbo religious foolishness. I mean, this is about us getting along with humanity and first with ourselves. So that we can dominate this earth because we've been given dominion of it. But most folks on the face of this earth don't have the formula on how to dominate. They feel like they have to subjugate to earth. And that's not written in our books, is that we have to be subjects to this earth. No, you're supposed to dominate this earth. Not be a slave to the earth. Dominate it. The way you dominate, the way I dominate may be different. But as long as you're happy dominating, I'm happy dominating with you too. But we may dominate in different ways. But as long as you're happy doing it and you're humble doing it, and you give gratitude, thanks while you do it, Baruch Hashem, what a wonderful life that is. You see? Yael 1:10 says, the greatest love of all is right inside me. Like Whitney said, Whitney Houston. Oh, indeed. It's within inside. It's within, It's within, not without. And Moshe is explaining this to the Hebrews. He said, wait a minute, you guys need to understand. And for those that were there with Moses and those that are not there, that's us, you and I, is that everything starts within. Life starts within. Life starts within, Mishpachah. Yahweh, in Deuteronomy chapter 30 at the end of verse 16, and Yahweh your power shall bless you in the land where you go to possess it. What real estate are you? And in real estate, I mean right now. You know what your real estate is? You know what your land is? Right now is what you're affirming, is you what are you scripting right now? That's real estate to you. Whatever it is. That's your land. That's your land. That's whatever you desire for yourself right now. That's going to give you peace, love, happiness, joy, all the default settings of humanity, which we all kind of strayed away from for a minute. The majority of folks have, because I haven't strayed away. I'm back. I have returned, like our Parsha, like our Torah tells us. I've returned back to that. The default settings, not a stress, anxiety and worry about this bill, the next bill, depression, oh, I don't have enough money in the bank account. That's not me. I love money and money loves me, and we have a friendship and a relationship that's going to last forever. And money comes to me from all sources and from all directions. Baruch Hashem. Deuteronomy chapter 30 verse 17. But if your heart turns away so that you will not hear, and shall be drawn away, and pay homage to other powers and serve them, I declare to you this day, in verse 18, that you shall surely perish, and that you shall not prolong your days upon the land where you go over the Jordan to possess it. Now, let's let that real estate we're talking about, that desire that you want. Now, if you turn away from that, if like what Hakohen talking about, if logic begins to set in and say, why do you keep, saying that you want that car? Why do you keep saying you want that house when you know it's not going to happen? You can't afford that. Logic comes in and do that, then guess what? Game over. Whatever that particular real estate is that you want, whatever it may be, that woman, that man you desire for yourself, that woman that you desire for yourself, that husband, that wife, that career, that business opportunity, that car, that house, whatever it may be, that boat, whatever, that plane, I don't care what it is you want. Whatever it may be, as soon as you begin to turn away from that, and how do you do that? Negative thought. Logic comes and says, man, you've been meditating on this, and it still hasn't come. It's been 2 weeks, and you haven't happened. You see what time comes in? And before you know it, you busted and disgusted, and you're depressed, and, oh man, it's never going to happen, man. This is never going to take place. Never, never, never. You need to take that word out of your vocabulary. When that sets in right there, that's logic creeping in. And that real estate that you want, you can hang it up. Just like our Torah says, perish. You can hang it up. It's going to perish. Before your very eyes. Why? Who did it? You did it. You did it because you got out-talked. Remember, talk is cheap. It's where action is. What are you doing? And what will you continue to do? You're going to continue to do what works for you. What makes you happy. What gives you love and peace and joy at the end of the day. That's what you're going to do. And you're going to continue to do that. That's the abundance of a life. Maybe the abundance of a life for you is not being a billionaire or a millionaire. That may not make you happy. But whatever does, pursue it. Because if you don't pursue it, then it will perish. You will lose pursuit. And then what are you stuck with? An empty shell? Yah forbid. Powers forbid that you're stuck with just an empty shell. And you go through life just empty. Emptiness. Just nothing. And then you're laying in the bed and you're looking at your toes, getting ready to take your last breath, and you're like, well, what was all this for? What did I do? What am I leaving behind? How did I make a mark on this earth? What did I do? Oh man, you want to be able to just go through, memory after memory of all these great things that you did, the great memories that you made, or you're going to just sit there and say, man, I sure hope all this was worth it, because now, I did all this suffering servant in this world so that I can have a better next life. Oh man, Yah forbid. Hope don't spring eternal on this end. Because I don't dwell in hope. I don't leave it to chance. I go out and I make chance happen. And that's what we are supposed to do. We have the DNA of El Shaddai to where we can go out and make our chance happen. Make your happiness. You make your happiness. Regardless if everybody around you is just angry birds, you go out and make your happiness. Matter of fact, when you begin to make your happiness, you'll see you begin to make others happy around you. Or at the same time, you'll begin to attract happiness to you. To where people that are happy just like you want to be around you and associate with you and establish relationship with you. That's how it works. You see, when light comes on the scene, darkness either has to be engulfed in the light, or darkness has to leave. That's just all it is to it. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. Try it with a candle. You see, the candle, wherever there is darkness, the light is going to shine light to the darkness. So the darkness just has to go. You see? You have a choice to dwell on one of the two sides. It's your choice to be in light or be in darkness. And I give thanks to the Kohen for continuing to enlighten me. Just like Yael, woman of the tent, said, I'm going to say it in a different way, but the same objective is giving gratitude and thanks to the Kohen for to continue to enlighten me. HaKohen in my life has opened up so many areas that I never thought existed out here in this big world. To have dominion to the four corners of this earth, that's real. Can dominate this earth. Now I begin to see that. He's opened up so much to me that this is a bigger picture of a whole world, not just, my little bubble over here in San Antonio, Texas, my little bubble. No, there's a whole bigger world out there for me, for you, for all of it. And believe me, there's enough always and forever to go around for everybody. There's no shortage here, Baruch Hashem, right? There's no lack. Because why? We don't have a lack mentality. There is no lack. There's always abundance. And then there's more abundance. And then there's more abundance. Baruch Hashem. That's just what it is, Mishpahah. So, perish, we don't want that. Don't ever let your dreams perish. Don't ever let your wants perish from you. Don't ever let your thoughts perish from you. What you desire for yourself perish. No. Keep it lit and keep it alive. How do you do that? You keep meditating on it day and night. I will meditate on your word day and night. Well, what is your word? And believe me, that was a big part of my petitions. Well, what is your word? Because I used to ask that to powers. And I used to go in the prayer closet, Mishpahah. I would close the door, like it says in the New Testament, and I would begin to pray. God, what is your word? What is your will? What is your will, God? What is your word? What is your will? I want your will for my life. You know what came back to me after many weeks of doing that? Was my will is my word. My word. So I went to the word. Then the word tells me, well, what's your word? Because that's God's will, is your word. What's your word? Is your will to be healthy? Is your will to be prosperous? Is your will to be, successful? Is your will to be abundant? What's your word? I was like, wow, you're putting the onus back on me. And that's where the onus was always meant to be from the beginning. It's on self. Not what other people want for me. Not what other people desire for myself. What do I want? Because at the end of the day, always and forever, I want to be happy. And guess what? When I'm happy, guess what? Everybody else around me going to be happy. Right? Or they're not going to be around me. One of the two. And that's what you're going to find. That's what you're going to find. In closing, we already closed with this, Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19. And I call the Shemaim and the earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life. There's a choice, that you and your seed may live forever. Baruch Hashem. I choose life for not only myself, but for my son Akshan. I choose life for my son, for my wife. Baruch Hashem. I choose life for my daughter. I choose life for my dog Pharaoh. Baruch Hashem. I choose life. I choose life, Mishpahah. I choose it. And I choose to live that life, not just a simple life, but I choose to live a life of excitement, of abundance, of happiness, of joy, of peace, a life of humility, a life of gratitude. I choose that. I'm so thankful to be able to be a partaker with all of you in this room of the covenants of Israel. To be in the family of Israel. I'm so thankful for that. I'm so thankful to serve the powers of Israel. I'm so thankful to be a student of HaKohen, Rabbi Simon Altef. I'm so thankful to be a part of the family. I'm so thankful for everything that I have that has been given to me and everything that is coming in, Baruch Hashem. That makes me happy. That gives me joy. That gives me peace. So that I can go out and I can be and I can illuminate my light even more to the people that are around me and be of assistance and be of help and be of great guidance and be that great counselor and be that ear just to listen and to infuse, light into the darkness of folks and to be able to be an example to show folks that, you don't have to live a mediocre life. You don't have to live a mundane life. You can live a life of miracles. It can be done. I'm doing it. How many of you right now will affirm that you're living a life of miracles? I'm living a life of miracles. I put up capital M on that. I'm living a life of miracles. Baruch Hashem. And they keep coming, miracle after miracle after miracle. I don't live a mundane life. I don't live a life of madness. I live a life of miracles, a life of peace, a life of love, a life of joy, a life of happiness. But we need to guard ourselves, as our Kohen stated, against, ego is going to creep in. Logic is going to try to creep in and come in and tell you that you don't live a life of miracles. That's a battle that takes place every day. Know this, you've already won the war. Go through the battle, but knowing that you've already won the war. And if logic and ego get you one day, and you fall down in your walk, get back up like Nakshan. Dust yourself off. Forget about it you ever fell down and keep walking. And just keep walking. Well, I got this bruise right here, so what? Keep walking. That's just battle scars. And you just keep walking until you fulfill the desires that you desire for yourself and until you take your last breath on the face of this earth. That's an abundance of a life. Doing what you do that makes you happy. That's an abundance of a life that gives you joy, that you find pleasure. Now, that's going to vary amongst the family, and that's okay. I just desire for all of you to be happy. That's my desire for all of you. I don't hope anything. I desire it for you. For you to find your happiness and however you need to find it. And it's going to vary amongst the family. You listen via YouTube, it's going to vary. And so be it. That's the uniqueness of the family. Thank goodness, thank powers that we don't all have the exact same, way or style about going about doing things and want the exact same things. That's the beauty of life. We can all find our place. There's so much to go around for all of us. And it will never stop going around. Just like the world will never stop going around. The earth will never stop spinning around. Going around. There's just so much to go around. Don't see yourself as low. See yourself as the head, not the tail. See yourself as the head and you'll be there. But if you choose to see yourself as the tail, then that's what you'll be as well. This way of thinking is totally opposite. But we've been conditioned. This is why we must walk before we crawl. But again, that's total opposite. Nakshan was walking before he started to crawl. He was walking first. Then he decided, well, when I get tired of walking, I guess I'll crawl. Opposite. In total opposite. There's nothing wrong with opposite. Although the nations that you're in may see you as strange and kind of weird. But that's okay. You're opposite. You think opposite. But the desire is still the same. It's to raise that nation that you're up in to a higher and a better state. to make your nation more prosperous. Not make it more protestable. Well, you're out here protesting and blah, blah, blah. No, but to actually infuse positivity in your nation. Your nation meaning your neighborhood, your town, your city, your state. You see, it all starts, first of all, where? Within that family. That nucleus. That all them protons and neutrons are bouncing off of. That nucleus, that core. That's the family. And for us, that's the most important thing. It's the family. You don't believe me? That's why Hakohen is in Pakistan right now. For that nucleus, for the family. That's the most important. It's the family. It's all about the family. Yael woman said, only tail I am is some oxtail in the pot. Yeah, my wife, yeah, she made some oxtail the other day. Tell you what, sucking many bones there. Very, very delicious. She made a good soup with that. I tell you, it was delicious. So I'm totally grateful. I'm totally grateful for the opportunity to be able to come to you as a student of a Kohen and sit down and reason together. And always and forever, I haven't seen your name here before. That name, I really like that name, always and forever. That's really cool. Because you with Forever Israel, Baruch Hashem, always and forever. You're more than welcome to come back. You're more than welcome to come back, and you're welcome to this room anytime. And this is just a, it's totally opposite from the religions and stuff out there. This is about reality and living in a real world. And how do we take, our Torah of Moses and apply it today in 2020? September 12. You see, how do we take that and apply that in 2020? And make our lives more prosperous, more happy, more full of joy and peace. That's what it's all about. So that we can get on with our fellow man in a positive way. Because what this world needs now more than anything is more peace and more positivity, and it's coming about in a big way. This great shepherd nation is America is the facilitator of bringing peace, to that what they call Middle East. You see, so I think that's so very, very important. So very important is that we desire those very same things. Starting in our homes, starting with ourselves first, and then it branches out from there, and then it just goes out. It just goes out from there. So on that note, we'll leave it up for any questions, and for all of you listening via YouTube as well. I'd like to wish you all a great 6 days of labor ahead. And if you do have any questions, you can continue to phone in to us on the number on our website, or you can also email us as well. And we'll get back to you because, get this. Without any questions, there won't be any answers. Think about that for a minute. Without any questions, there won't be any answers. So we don't want this world to be in an unanswered state, right? Now, you may not like the answer, but again, without any questions, there won't be any answers. You see? I tell you, at one time, I was just chock-a-block with questions. Baruch Hashem, we give thanks always. We always giving thanks. And we leave the rest to it. You see, another example of folks who just don't get it. They just don't get it. You see, they on the other side of the spectrum, wanting to raise up, division instead of multiplying. You see, we're all about multiplying. If you're children of Israel, you're all about multiplying. You're not about dividing anything up. Let's multiply. Let's come together and multiply. You see? And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. So, on that note, another keyboard warrior, right? There you go, another one. Another keyboard warrior bites the dust. But we leave them to it. On that note, we'll wrap it up for the Shabbat. My desire is that you all have a great 6 days of labor ahead. Remember our books. Remember our history. Never forget. Never forget our history. Never forget our books. Baruch Hashem. Never forget who you are. Never forget who you stand for. There's a bigger picture out here. It's not just you and your family. It broadens out from that to a bigger picture. And you all will do great and marvelous things these 6 days of labor, and you all will make many miracles these 6 days of labor. However you see your miracle, life in itself is a miracle. Many people don't see that. But when you wake up in the morning, guess what? That's a miracle. Baruch Hashem. You woke up. It's a miracle. Miracles are happening around you. Acknowledge them and give thanks and gratitude for those miracles. Baruch Hashem. On that note, Tada for the birthday wishes. Oh, believe me, we're going to have a Lion King party over here for my little Lion King for his first birthday. So we give thanks always. And again, we give more thanks. Baruch Hashem. We give more thanks. More and more thanks. So, on that note, we'll wrap it up and say Shabbat Shalom and Shalom Shalom to all of you. Over to you, Kohen. If there's any questions, please let them be known now.
Thank for that, Rabbi Kefa. So, one affirmation that I would encourage you to write on your list, which should stay there forever, will be something to the words of, my life is full of miracles. Make that an affirmation and keep it there. My life is full of miracles. My life is full of miracles. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Let me give you a little testimony before I go. I have an interest in buying a little plot of land over here to build a house. And I was, I had a front man, Moses. He was doing some wheeling dealing for me over here to people who own the land that I wanted to purchase. And, I didn't have to leave my room to make this happen. I already had this on my list. This is a fulfilled affirmation. This is fulfilled. And the land purchase was done. And listen, the blessing with it is I get 1 year's free electricity. Then I start to build the house. 1 year's free electricity. Think about that. About $3,000 worth of bills already paid in advance. So my life is definitely full of miracles. That's what you should be saying for yourselves, and you will do well. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Have a great Sabbath, a great week ahead, and continue to do what is right for yourselves, and continue to serve the power of Israel and the power that belongs to you, the children of Israel, Baruch Hashem Yahweh, and let the Gentiles continue in their misery. If they want to be miserable, if they want to accuse and to cast evil upon you, it will return back to them, and they will reap the rewards for that. Because remember what the God of Israel said: we are the children of Israel, and when we live and obey in the Torah, miracles are our regular daily mean. Miracles are for us. We don't chase miracles, miracles chase us. So with that, I'm going to close the room. Shabbat Shalom for yourselves and your families.